And he's just this like, I just don't give a shit about anything. I'm such a cool, laid-back guy, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Scandal and shenanigans. And he is not attracted to women, so he finds this problematic. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books that I have read in January. This is not all of the books I've read in January. This is just the first handful that I'm going to talk about today. There's actually one that I would talk about because I always do my wrap-ups with like in order that I read the books, but there's going to be one that I need to skip because it's for a little project. Starting with the first thing that I completed here in January. This was a NetGalley e-arc I got for A Gentleman's Gentleman by TJ Alexander. Beautiful cover. Oh my God, anything like rainbow, colorful, sign me up. It's so pretty. I love it. In this, we have our main character, Christopher, Lord Christopher Eden, and he is the heir to his family's like estate and everything. His parents have passed away, his sibling passed away as well, and he is coming of age, but he only will get this inheritance if he finds a suitable bride. So the lawyers that kind of handle everything with the estate, they let him know, like, you gotta do this by XYZ date. I think it's by his birthday. And he is not attracted to women, so he finds this problematic. He also likes to stay out at their country estate and not really be up in society like that, but he has to travel to London for the season and kind of mingle with high society and everything and try to find a woman to wed. He usually only has two servants that work for him, two elderly folks, one who is the cook and the other one who is kind of like, I think he's like the groundskeeper type of dude. But he will need a butler, a proper butler, when he goes to London. So they hire someone and whoopsie, Christopher finds him attractive. And his name is James Harding, and we go from there. And yeah, this is a historical romance, if you cannot tell from that description. Obviously as well, per the description, it should be clear that there's LGBTQIA+ rep, some trans rep in this book, a fair amount actually, queer rep all the way around. And I'm not the biggest romance reader typically, but I do love some historical fiction, and this just sounded like probably like it was going to be a fun time, and I will say I did have a fun time with this. It did have a very common third act breakup trope of like kind of a simple misunderstanding, delaying the lovers from fully getting together, that kind of thing. For me, that pretty much always feels fairly contrived. In this case, it was very short-lived though, so it didn't bother me too much. It wasn't a drawn-out third act breakup situation. I thought the characters were enjoyable. I liked following them, Christopher and James both. I really loved the side characters though. Etienne, who is a French tailor, basically, clothing maker, whatever. He makes all of Christopher's clothing, and so they're close friends. And Etienne is probably the person that Christopher trusts the most. And Etienne is like a fabulous French gay man, and he does all the clothing for all the folks. And yeah, they just have a very special friendship that I really liked. Lady Verbena also, or Verbena, she was fabulous, loved her. I would love an entire book of these characters, Etienne and Lady Verbena in particular, just like traipsing about London in social circles, gossiping and drinking tea with each other. Like, I would eat it up. I did wish that we had gotten like a little bit more of the development of the relationship in the story. The main pairing was very slow burn, which is fine for me, especially like it's like a Victorian, Regency romance type of thing. I just don't feel like I saw enough behind why they felt so strongly about each other. Aside from like finding each other attractive and generally kind, there wasn't that much substance of like specific reasons why I'm falling for this person. I I really, really enjoyed the plot points when they were in London, the things that happened when they were there. Scandal and shenanigans, and it was so fun. I also did get quite emotional at one point. I teared up. I won't say at what point, but there was a moment that got me a little like in my feels. It was like a sweet moment, heartfelt, but also sad. That's all I'll say. And overall, it was just an entertaining, sweet, lovely book. Not a new favorite of all time necessarily, but I had a good experience reading it and I would recommend. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I do wish that I loved it and therefore wanted to buy a copy of it just to have. But as it stands right now, I don't know if this is one that I could see myself rereading. Part of me is like, yeah, kind of, because I did really enjoy just like hanging out with a couple of characters. So maybe, honestly. The cover tempts me enough, probably, where I might just get it. And then I picked up Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan, and I am doing that read-along this year of the World of Elan, and I'm rereading this time around in chronological, like, world order. So, starting with Age of Myth. I'll have the video linked if I remember for that read-along. There is a Discord that you can join if you want to join in on the read-along. There are some people reading it in publication order, like reading through in publication order. I have the Discord set up so that at least in the Discord you can have conversations depending on which you're reading, right? And there's some spoiler versus non-spoiler like sections and channels or whatever. But yeah, this is my 3rd time reading Age of Myth. This is kind of your like standard fare classic-ish fantasy world we have here with elves and dwarves and giants and mankind. And in the start of this one here, we have basically the humans, the mortals. They worship the elves, which in this series they're called Frey, F-H-R-E-Y, but they're basically elves. They kind of interchange it a little bit, but humans think that the elves are gods. At the very beginning of the book, a human man slays a god and turns things around. Humans are like, wait a minute, what? They can be killed? Didn't know that. And the reason they think that they're gods is because, I mean, the elves kind of support that rumor, and they live so long. So, and they're like so ethereal looking and whatever. So humans just see them that way, and the elves don't dissuade them from this thought. And the elves definitely look down on humans. They think they are just little savage critters multiplying like cockroaches. They think they're basically like animals. And not all elves do, and that's kind of what we see in this, is that back in the capital where the elves are, the leadership is quite divided, and their society is quite divided on what they think about humans and how they think the elves should be led in general. There's a sect of elves who have magical abilities. They call it the Art. And these elves, there's quite a few of them who have basically drank the Kool-Aid and convinced themselves that they are better than all the other elves. And they are basically godlike. And that they deserve to rule over everyone, all the elves included. So there's a lot of like that kind of political stuff going on with the elves. And in this one, there's not a ton of political stuff going on with the humans just yet. We're pretty much just with this one clan. But we meet our cast of characters, and they have their own things going on, but then this god killer shows up, and then some more elves show up looking for the god killer, and they end up kind of working together, essentially. The humans pretty much realize that they need to do something because the elves are going to come for them, but they've now realized that they're not gods and they can be killed, so we should all band together and stop ourselves from being annihilated, which is what the elves are about to do to us. So that's what we start off with here. I gave this 4.5 stars previously, and I did not change my rating, so still 4.5 for me. I just love these characters, and it's so fun going back to reread it. Like I said, this is my 3rd time, and now I've read everything else aside from all of the Riyria Chronicles, but everything I would need to like pick up on all the Easter eggs, and like I know what happens throughout history because The other book series are like thousands of years after the events in this series. And so we're seeing the true history as it actually happened. And thousands of years later, we hear about like the changed history, the fake history, the altered history. And so it's so fun going back and seeing like, yeah, no, this is how it actually happened. You all have it so wrong. And I just love this cast of characters. Persephone, I adore her. Suri and Minna. Minna is a wolf that is Suri's best friend, and Minna doesn't speak or anything like that, although Suri can understand Minna. And it's so great. It's so great. I love it so much. And then another reread, An Accident of Stars by Meadows. When I read this last year, I read from this copy, which has an equally cool cover, just very different, but like such cool artwork. Oh my God. I love it. And this was published with Angry Robot as well. I do believe, yep, it was. But years ago, and it was re-edited to some degree. I'm not sure to what degree. I tried doing kind of a little comparison in the beginning, and I wasn't finding anything different. So I don't know if it was just like a copy, like line edit redoing or whatever, but with this new cover as well, which is pretty, very different. And I like that this is, you know, not a mass market paperback. At any rate, loved this reread, and Roger also was reading it right about the same time for his first time, and so that was fun too, getting his kind of thoughts as we were going through it. And yeah, I still love this, not changing my rating. I think it was 4.5 before. It is still 4.5. This is Portal Fantasy. We are following a girl named Saffron who lives in Australia, and she's having a shit time at school. Just kind of standard fare, unfortunately. Boys will be boys behavior at school from one boy in particular, but kind of other boys are mentioned as like participating as well from time to time. And she's just kind of miserable, and the adults around her, teachers don't listen, they don't care about this harassment. And it's made her kind of go within her shell a bit. She struggles to sleep. She has insomnia because of the stress that she's dealing with all this. And like her parents also kind of brush it off. And she's just kind of like, this sucks, you know? And she sees this woman at school walk through a portal, and Saffron follows her. She had had an interaction with this woman at the school a little bit before and really liked her. This woman like helped her like stand up to this boy. And then she sees her later and yeah, follows her through this portal and ends up in this completely alien world. Not literally aliens. Well, I mean, I guess technically. It's a different world though, and she learns that there is kind of a multiverse, and some people are world walkers, and she is now one of those, but she's stuck on this other world for some time, and some crazy shit goes down. She is embroiled with this group of people who have a lot going on in the political machinations in this world. They helped this guy get put on the throne. He's kind of like a usurper king, and they helped him get there, and then he turned on them. And there's a whole bunch of fallout happening, and she is in the middle of all this now. And it gets dark. There's some pretty awful shit that happens to this girl almost immediately, like violent mutilation and stuff. And yeah, then we follow this kind of cast of characters. The group that she is with, they are fleeing the country, which is on the brink of civil war, and they're fleeing to go to this other country where some of the women that are in this group are from, but they were exiled. And this other country is like this matriarchal council of queens that rule, and there's this very secretive trial that they have to do to become queens. They're all like maimed from it, but no one knows. It's very like well-guarded secret, like what the trial is. And yeah, things ensue from there. I just love this. The cultural richness is top tier. The cultures that Meadows has created in this made-up world are just so fascinating. They're very, very rich, and there's so much depth to them. They're so fascinating. It's a very queer normative world. And in Kina, the country that is on the brink of civil war that they fall into initially, or that she falls into initially, they have like a very cool, it's kind of like polyamory. Most people are polyamorous. and their marriages are like a system. Kind of like there's like, especially in the royalty, like it's very complicated, but it's so fascinating how it works. But even like regular citizens can have marriages like this. They don't always, but they can, and they often do. And yeah, it's so fascinating. And then the matriarchal society and what they're doing there. Yeah, it was just very interesting. I love it. I love it so much. There's so much to sink your teeth into. The actual plot that's going on isn't like anything crazy, you know, country with the traitorous king that got put on the throne and turned out to be a shitheel, and now we want to like find someone else to take his place, so let's rally the troops and figure this out and do some political scheming and stuff. It's not anything super insane, but it feels so rich because of the world and the cultures and the character development. There is a lot of introspection and like mental health representation and mental health conversations. Like, this is a portal fantasy where we deal with, what does this mean? Like, this girl, teenage girl getting dropped into this world, like, sounds fun and like, woo. And a lot of times, especially for a younger audience, it is fun. It's like fun, happy times. And maybe, oh, I miss my family, but like, it's more lighthearted. It is not lighthearted here. And we do get to see a little glimpse into what is going on with her family. There's dream seers or dream walkers who can kind of like see what's going on via the dreamscape, and she gets information about like what is going on with her family and that they think she's kidnapped and the police are looking for her and all this stuff, and she's dealing with the emotional impact of that, wanting to get back to her family but like falling into this family here, and like very much found family vibes. And I could go on, but I don't want to turn this into just an accident of stars review. I love it though. And yeah, 4.5 stars still. I think that's what I gave it the first time as well. And it holds up for sure. And this is out of order technically. I didn't read it immediately, or didn't finish it immediately after, but I did then also reread A Tyranny of Queens by Meadows, book 2 in this duology, which is called The Manifold Worlds, by the way. And yeah, this one picks up right where the first one left off, and it's really all I want to say about the plot. For spoilery reasons, there's a lot of big shit that happened at the end of the first book. Emotional gut punches and just like holy shit reveals and things. And yeah, we pick right up here. And this edition, this republished, I think, re-edited edition from Angry Robot Books is actually coming out in just a couple of days on January 28th, which by the time this video comes out might have passed, but at any rate, it is going to be available on January 28th. So I love this because I was so upset all last year that I didn't have matching copies, because there wasn't this edition in the mass market paperback, and there wasn't the first edition in the first book in this edition. So I had like the artwork matches, but like not the same size, glossy versus not, like just very different. So I was quite upset about that, and I'm very happy to now have a matching set of what is one of my favorite series of all time, bar none. Once again, just the richness of it. Oh my God. This one does, like, the beginning is a little slower. We are dealing with some shit. And it might feel a little weird, I guess, for some, because, you know, the first book is like setting things up and getting things going, and then, oh shit, action, action, action. And like we end on like, what the fuck? And then we do take a little bit of time here in the beginning to deal with some stuff. I love it. I love what we're dealing with. I love how we're dealing with it. I love watching all of it unfold, the emotional growth of our characters, and just everything. It's like I said, it's just delicious. I once again gave this 5 stars, so unsurprising there. I definitely would recommend. I mean, I know it's not going to be for everybody, nothing is, but I love these books, and I so want there to be more in this world, like in these worlds. There absolutely could be too. How we end it, and like just by nature of the concept, we are the name of the series is Manifold Worlds, and it's like a multiverse. We have world walkers. Our main character, essentially, she is a world walker, and we know other world walkers, and there's all kinds of super cool magic. And the way this ends, it's like things are tied up. Like this story that we are told is, you know, it's not necessarily done and over with because these characters are still alive and gonna do their own thing, but like, we're like, okay, all of these issues we had, we've squared things away, and this is our plan moving forward. Totally opens it up, though, for there to be more, like other worlds that we go to, other characters to meet, and the way it ends, it almost, I'm like, there's gotta be more planned. Meadows has to have more planned, I would think, or maybe she just wanted to leave it open-ended that way in case she ever wanted to come back to it. I don't know, but I hope. God, I hope. And like, I feel like I'm just not even doing it justice when I talk about it either, because I just get like word vomity and like so excited because I love it so much. All right, then I have a DNF. I was doing so good in January, and overall January has been, I mean, it's not quite over yet, but it has been a pretty dang good. I mean, these first few ones I've talked about, 4 stars, 4.5, 4.5, 5. I mean, 3 of those were rereads, but whatever. I then picked up A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair, and I don't even remember why I picked it up. I've had it on my TBR for a minute. It was a Storygraph recommendation originally. I think I saw someone talking about it in a video, and I just was like, oh, I'm in the mood for like a little fantasy romance time. And I heard that this is like Throne of Glass, but better. And heard that there was like all this diversity in it and whatnot. I got 21% in. I wanted to DNF at like 5%. I had the thought of like, ooh, I don't think so. But I was like, let me give it to like 15, 20%. Let's see, you know, let's give it the good old college try. And I tried. I did. I really did. There's this is kind of random thoughts. It's like a world where we have humans or mortals, and we used to have fae, but they've gone off to like their own little, there's like a peace treaty between the humans and the fae are like, all right, we'll go over here and do our own thing. And there used to be elves, but the mortal king was like, fuck all the elves, genocided pretty much all the elves except for anyone who's a halfling. This is called the Halfling Saga. And if you're a halfling, if you're part human, part elf, and they literally have like the 1 drop rule like in the book, in their world they do that as well. Like any drop of elf blood makes you a halfling. And you're a second rate citizen basically, and you're enslaved. You're not even like, you're a slave. And our main character she was trained. You can go into like servitude in this way where you get trained to be like in the king's little special army of assassins. And she did, and she's like top of the ladder, his like right-hand woman assassin. So that's like the setup, okay? So she's running around doing all these killings for the king. She tattoos everybody's name, like everyone she kills, she'll require them to tell her their name, and then she tattoos it on her body so she doesn't forget, whatever. Anyway, we have a prince that immediately was just like a mustache twirling caricature of a villain to me. And there's a scene, obviously in the beginning, because that's all I read, where he's speaking to his father, the king, and our main character is standing there, like, listening to this conversation. And the king is basically telling him, like, we need to be concerned about this political thing. It doesn't matter, whatever. And the prince is standing there, and he's just this like, I just don't give a shit about anything. I'm such a cool, laid-back guy, yeah. His dad is like, we gotta be fucking worried about this shit. I'm the king, I'm telling you. And the prince just kept, like, it was like 4 times. His dad would say something, like, trying to explain it to him and get him to understand, and he'd be like, pshaw, we don't need to worry about that. We're the rulers, we're badasses, we don't gotta worry. And then his dad being like, no, literally we do, and here's why. The information I have, blah, 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 blah. I don't think we should, Dad. Who gives a crap? We're better than everybody. No, son, listen, I'm telling... It was like 4 fucking times, and I was like, dude, shut up. You're so fucking annoying and stupid. And like, why would he be that stupid? It just didn't make sense. I'm like, why would this prince be that dumb? I could see him being flippant, fine. But like, okay, your natural way of being is to be flippant about stuff. But like, once your dad, the king, is telling you, I have different information that proves that we do need to worry about this, I would think that you would then be like, oh, okay, I didn't realize, Dad. Like, what? It just didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. And he's like hundreds of years old. These humans can live for hundreds of years apparently, and I'm sure there was like something up with that because they kept referencing like the story we were told. And I'm like, okay, so it's a lie, I guess. It sounds like. I don't know. I don't care. Yeah, he was so fucking annoying. And then I just, the vibe, the tone of like, I'm such a fucking badass bitch. None of these motherfuckers better mess with me was like a little much. There was a quote where she's just like walking through the palace now after talking to the king, and it's called the king's arsenal, okay? She's walking through the palace and there's like servants, like palace servants that are like nearby, and they make some comment of the book makes some comment about like they don't speak to her. And then our character, they knew better than to address a member of the king's arsenal. Those who didn't often found themselves without a tongue. And I highlighted it and wrote, LOL, prove it. Like, no, you don't go around just cutting out servants' tongues. I don't believe you. You haven't shown me that you do this or that anyone does this. You're just saying it. Like, literally nothing has been shown to me to make me believe that the arsenal is that scary and cutting out servants' tongues for speaking to them. Like, I don't believe you. I've seen you kill someone now as like an assassin, but like that was your job. So that in and of itself doesn't make me believe that you'd cut off a fucking servant's tongue for talking to you. That's not your job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, show me instead of telling me. Because when you just tell me this, I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And then, so the big, like, thing is there's this person who is running around calling themselves the Shadow and, like, basically trying to thwart the king. They're, like, fucking with her and her jobs and just doing some fuckery in general. And so she's got to find the Shadow and kill the Shadow. She's got to do away with the Shadow, all right? And she says, shadows were largest just before the sunset, but lost their power when night inevitably fell. For shadows don't truly exist in the dark. It was time for me to bring the night. And that was the end of, like, either a section or a chapter, and I just wrote, sweet baby Jesus. I don't know, man. This, like, kind of tone just doesn't do it for me to this degree. I can handle a little bit of it. I do enjoy Throne of Glass. It has so many issues. I have many qualms with it. But, like, it's a fun enough time in general. Whatever. And, like, it can certainly have some moments like that. Selena certainly has some of that, like, braggadocio or whatever. But, like, I don't know. The tone of this just, it's, like, corny. It feels corny, man. And then, I don't love this either. She's, like, I couldn't quite figure out how old she was supposed to be. At least, like, 40. But I saw a review later that said she was apparently like 60. She sounds like an 18-year-old in her head. So I don't believe you. Unless because you're so long-lived, maybe it's like, oh, you're still like a baby. You're still immature because you're only 60 and like you sound like a teenager. I don't know. It sounded unbelievable. She's one of these characters, though, that's so, like, I'm so guilty, my sins are never ending, and I'll never be able to make amends for all the wrong I've done, blah, 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 whatever. And yeah, she says, there's no amount of good that could wash away the sea of blood I had filled. And once again, I highlighted it and just wrote, okay, whatever. And then, oh my God, this killed me. There's like some beautiful woman that's like talking to some lord that our main character is like spying on. She's spying on this lord. And so she sees this interaction and she says, Lady Darylyn was a beauty with her long neck and piercing green eyes. And I was like, that's it. That's the description for this great beauty. Long neck and piercing green eyes. That's literally all we said about her looks. It was just, I think it didn't help that I was reading these right about the same time and like the character descriptions are so much better. Oh my God. And oh my God, this, okay, then she kisses a dude and says he tasted sweet and fresh like the glacial waters of the burning mountains. And I wrote, no the fuck he did not. Unless he just brushed his teeth with minty fresh toothpaste, he didn't taste like anything but a person's mouth and spit. Like, I just always find that a little bit eye roll inducing, you know, in romances and stuff. And he tasted like sweet rainwater or whatever. I'm like, just say that it felt good to kiss him. Like, I get what you're going for, I guess. But no, the fuck, he did not taste like glacial waters from a mountain. Oh my God. Whatever. And then this is what I was like, all right, I'm done. She was an alcoholic. Okay, so she has an addiction problem and she can't stop. And she's apparently been drinking for, I think it was at least 2 years, if not like 3 or 4 years. Some incident happened and after that she started drinking and she couldn't stop. And I'm like, you would suck at your job. She gets hammered like almost every night and only has one incident that like she was too hungover and couldn't perform and couldn't like run fast enough and like fell and like kind of almost got herself killed. I'm like, this cannot be the first time this has happened in years. In years of you being a raging alcoholic and continuing to be an assassin, this is the first time you've had an incident where you're like, fuck, the drinking isn't helping. Like, I don't believe you, but it did. And so she wrote, it says, I didn't deserve my vice. It had almost cost me my life. It had cost me the shadow. My tongue would not taste a drop of wine until I held the shadow's head in my hands. And she just stops drinking. And addiction does not fucking work like that. Oh my God. You can have every conviction in the world of like, I'm done, that's it. But it's a fucking mental health thing. Like, it's a brain chemistry thing. Your brain chemistry has been altered to the point that you no longer can choose not to do this thing. Your brain just automatically just wants you to do it and lets you do it. It takes way more time and like fucking therapy and work and assistance and support to rewire your brain. Like, it's literally your brain chemistry. You can't just be like, I'm done, actually. So many people tried that. That's not how it fucking works. And that just pissed me all the way off. So I was like, yep, I'm out. I'm officially out. I was already probably going to be out soon, but like, that's my cutoff point. I'm done. It's very beloved. Apparently it's like a book talk book, I guess. I don't know. It has so many reviews and so many of them are positive. And like, listen, if you had a fun time with it and you liked it, I love that for you. I just didn't. Clearly, unfortunately. All right, I think I'm gonna be done now. There's like one more I could talk about, but I'll just save it for next time because I've been talking for a really long time and I didn't realize that. Let me know if you have read any of these. It was kind of nice. I think starting off January doing like a reread or two is a good way to go for me because it starts the year off so well, you know? Gets me going, wanting to read more, so love that for me. And of course, if you just want to say hey and let me know you're watching, you can leave a little emoji to make your presence known. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.